Okay, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you everyone. So I am Hakim Hafidi. I am assistant professor in AI at the International University of Rabat. And so since I couldn't make it to Yukon with the delegation, I wanted to share some pictures of my previous visit to the university. So unfortunately, I cannot see your faces and facial expressions, but I'm guessing that at least some of the audience have some doubts about the authenticity of the images. Actually, you're probably right. This is AI generated. I didn't have the pleasure yet to visit Yukon, but maybe next time. And so this is to say that we're living in a world where we cannot anymore trust even like images of a person that we know. And I want to talk about AI literacy from this perspective, that we need also to educate people about the world that we're living in. I mean, I have made these images with tools that are accessible to anyone, and we have seen a lot of these kind of images lately. I also noticed that we're starting to see posts on LinkedIn, for example, saying that this is not AI generated, so that we confirm the authenticity of, and so we should believe the person that's saying that. And so yes. So as I said, I want to talk about it from this perspective. And the first question that I want to be answering, actually, most of my talk would be like just having questions for you guys and for all of us to think about. And one of them is what happens to us as humans when we're primarily consuming and interacting with synthetic content. And as I said, a lot of the panelists talked about these concepts of AI literacy from different concepts. I enjoyed the socio-technical parts. And so, as I said, when we talk about AI literacy, we mostly talk about understanding the models, the data, biases in the data, the limitations of the models. We talk also about enabling people to use all these tools because they can empower them and they can make them more productive and so on. But also we need to make to ensure that everyone is posing the right question on the information, whether it's credible or not, on the benefits of this content, who benefits from this content exist, and what are the second order effects and so on. So I start by giving some numbers about like the amount of AI generated content that we're dealing with today and some projection with the future. And I'm noting that a study on about 1 million new web pages that concluded that at least 74% of new pages contained AI generated text, and with projection for that those numbers to rise to about 90%. But this is AI generated text, and this is just part of the problem. So for all these pages, what we have is that people who prompt AI tools get the answers, maybe prompt them again, so they interact with the contents before they post it. But what I want to highlight is the emergence of what we call AI agents. So it's in the new trend in the AI community. And so a agent is a system that is able to perceive its environments, to reason about it, and then decide which action to take. And its action will influence the environment that he's living in. And he has also the capacity to learn and adapt from this experience of interaction with the environment. And so modern AI agents have mostly LLMs as brains, so they can reason about the environment and then take or decide which action to take. They can take different actions because they have access to different tools. They can collaborate with each other and with humans. They can plan to do more complex tasks. And the fear is something that I also talked about in the previous seminar that we had online. And is the fact that having those agents generating, creating, and sharing information online. So, as I said, it's an LLM brain with reasoning abilities that decides which content to generate, whether it's text, images, and we have also great advances in video generation lately. And so he also can, because he have these different tools and can access its environment, it can post and shares the content it generated on platforms, then collect engagement metrics from the platform, then refines its strategy to generate and then post content that is more engaging. Since that's what's like even platform highlights and encourages is like engaging content. And so as an example, imagine like a bot testing 10 headlines about a research study and measuring engagement on each, then refining whichever interpretation gets the most shares, regardless of what the study actually concluded. And so some may say that we are already dealing with like lots of content even before having this AI agents. Just human generates a lot of content with different quality, and we know in a way how to deal with that as a society. But actually, I want to talk about some questions that this may lead us to and some problems. One of them is what even truth mean anymore? Like we had some heuristics before to live as a society. One of them is like if many people are saying something, at least there is a high probability or some probability that it's true. But now it could be just like thousands of AI agents repeating this thing online. So the fact that a lot of people are saying it does not mean anymore, does not mean nothing anymore. I showed my pictures at the beginning, and so these are not anymore any evidence of nothing because they can easily be faked. Same thing for videos and even for historical documents. If they're not like, if we see only the digital version of them, then they can easily be faked also using AI tools. One other problem is the meaning crisis. This is something that was talked about during the first panel. So imagine someone's posting online that he's struggling with anxiety, and then there's an AI agent answering that he completely understands and saying what helped him and giving some advice. The question is that what does that even mean if we like have no more social interaction, but we bots? Some would say, if it helps, does it matter if the advice is good? Then what's the problem? And if it makes them feel better, then it's good. But again, I'm just posing questions for all of us. One other problem is like who owns these AI agents, who create them? Because we need first to create these agents and give them goals and what we want them to optimize for. And so that's the problem of mass manipulation using like these AI agents and deploying them at a high scale. One other problem I also mentioned in the previous talk is the information collapse, and this is an example that I have made of a French artist named Jérôme Bosch. Actually, if you search his name on some search platforms, one of the first thing that stands out is that the images that are shown are not from him, but are AI generated images in his style. And so the real images of the artist are like we kind of floss them in this huge amounts of generated AI generated images that are available online. So it's not just anymore that we should verify the information that we consume online, but it will be more and more difficult to find more authentic information. And so to model and try to understand what's the impact of this, I've made a small model for us to make sense of all of this. And so I imagine the system, we have both humans and AI agents creating contents. And so we have there some little parameters. One of them is the proportion of, or a share or fraction of users that are AI or humans. We have age that is representing the number of posts a human can make in a day on average, and then the number of posts that an AI can make in a day. And that's like one huge parameter, and one that will lead to the problems that I mentioned is the capability of this system of generating a lot of content and making it available online. And so we also have the probability of resharing, or like the likelihood of resharing or reposting the content that originates from a human and then from an AI agent. And we make the hypothesis that this is related to the quality of the post if we cannot identify the origin, whether it's a human or AI agent. So the likelihood will increase with the quality of or interest that we have on the post. And so if we do like a simple math here and with some numbers, for example, if we have only 1% of AI agents in the system, with humans posting 100 times less than AI agents, we found that if we don't consider in a network I will talk in the next slide about what I mean by the network interactions, and we just plot the numbers in this formula. We get that with only 1% of AI agents, if they post in 100 times more than humans, we have 50% of the content that is from AI agents. But actually, if we suppose that this is happening in a kind of social media platform, which we can represent by a graph. This is, we can, here the graph represents like a social network of 500 users, 5,000 users, sorry. The blue dots represent human users, and the orange one represents AI agents users. And so there's links between these dots, and whenever like a user share or post something, like it can travel through this connection that exists between them. And if another user we share the information, we will plot this as a orange line. If it's a human, it will be a blue line. And so I run this simulation that you can see here. And so with the previous number that I mentioned earlier, if the probability of resharing or the likelihood of resharing a post that originates from a human or an AI are similar, I set them to 0, 15, we end up with 36% of the content that is available on the system is from AI agents. But what happens if I increase like this number, this probability of AI to, if I double it, but I keep the human one the same? And this could be like possible if, for example, AI agents only reshare information from other AI, but also if the quality of the AI generated content start to get better than the average quality of human content, then it's plausible to have AI generating, like being reshared twice as the human users. This time with only 1% of AI agents in the system or in the platform, we can arrive to 82% of content that is from AI agents. And this is like the flaw that I was talking about at the start of the presentation. What's also interesting is that in a lot of platforms, we had bots that represent sometimes more than 50% of users. And if we have, so these bots were not as intelligent as the systems that we can have today, but if we deploy 50% AI agents with LLM brains creating content with the tools that are available today, there is a risk of making the fact of finding human-generated content like very difficult on these platforms. And so why would this matter, and why is it a problem? It matters for all of us in different ways, but I'm mentioning just some of them. So for example, if we do research and we want to learn about something, maybe in 100 articles, 90% of them will be AI generated. And so are they real or not? How can I verify all of this? If we come back also to the problem that we said earlier of someone wanting to have a connection with other humans online and only get responses from other bots, what does it mean to the existence of a community? And there's also problems for democracy if we have AI bots making like the political opinion by resharing at a high scale what's happening online. And so that's my point, is that also along with the teaching or making people aware about these AI models, how they function, how they can use the tools, we should be all like aware about this and thinking about how we can like reduce or make this problem less of a problem. And so I have been thinking a lot about these questions lately, and but I want to mention that when preparing the presentation, I was also brainstorming with AI tools, and they helped me with creating the and writing code for the simulation. They helped me with some ideas, and so I was prompting the tools, but they also suggested interesting ideas for the talk, and I was wondering whether these tools are now like a cognition, an extension of my cognition system, or am I just a vector or medium for them to share information with you? And so this is my last question for you. Thank you, everyone.